So here for the better part of a couple weeks now, I have been researching very heavily into the whole power station game. I've been wanting to purchase something myself and get something going, and timing was kind of perfect. BougeRV had reached out and asked if I was going to be interested in reviewing one of these DC to DC alternator chargers. I didn't really have a power station worthy of testing this out, so I went ahead and decided to finish up my research. I pulled the trigger on a BougeRV setup that's going to be arriving here in the next couple of days. So ultimately what my plan is for this video here is we're going to go ahead and take a look at this unit that's made by BougeRV. They did send this out to me to try out and test with the expectation of basically just showing you guys how this thing actually operates, and then you guys can make a determination whether this thing might be a good option for you and your setup or not. Now, if you're like me and you didn't really know what these alternator chargers were about, I kind of went down the rabbit hole over the last couple days watching every video under the sun, and basically what I've come to figure out is there's several different variations and brands out there available, but some of them are kind of proprietary to the brand themselves that makes it, whereas a few of them you can actually run on like 99% of the power stations out there as long as they've got like that XT60 port, and then this here has the MC4 connection here like you'd use for your solar panel. And what really kind of drew me to this unit, why I agreed to actually review this one, was mainly because you could use this on several different brand power stations, but also it's got the variable control, so we can basically adjust the voltage on this thing on the fly using the app and get this thing dialed in based on what power station we're actually charging with it, as well as the vehicle that we're going to be running this in. So essentially, when you get this out of the box, there's really not much to it. This is the little DC alternator charger. On the end here, you've got your fan here for cooling the unit. You've also got your XT60 port here where you'll be able to plug in your cables that'll go to the actual power station itself. And then these other two buttons here, one of them is the power button, and then this other one is, I believe, a voltage button. We'll have to play with that a little bit once we get this installed, and we'll see exactly how that button operates. It works through Bluetooth. You can actually key up the app and see all the metrics and everything from the app real time. Other than that, you get your manual here. It is a good idea to kind of thumb through this manual, kind of get an idea of how this thing actually operates. So I've already done that. You get a little bag of goodies here. It's basically just got some screws, a little Allen wrench, and then you've got a couple of the little set screws, which appear to be extras because they've already got a set here in the unit. And then you've got your power wire here. So essentially this is a 6-gauge wire. Now there is one major flaw to this kit that I already addressed with BougeRV, and let me go ahead and explain that to you real fast. So essentially you get a power and a ground, and after doing some research and talking to the manufacturer about this kit, pretty much every brand out there is doing it the same way, and I don't really understand it. But they were actually gracious enough to hear me out and kind of hear why I thought this was important to change. And believe it or not, here in the next month or so, they've actually gone ahead and implemented this change so that it'll be on all the kits going forward in about a month or so. So if you end up picking one of these kits up now and it's wired the way that I've got mine here, and I'll show you, it's a pretty easy fix, and I'll show you what I'm going to do to kind of remedy mine. But otherwise, going forward in about a month or so, the kit will come ready to go and ready to install. But basically what they've done is, on this kit, you'll see you've got some eyelets here. This is going to be the side that you're going to hook up to your positive on your battery and then like grounding to your frame on your vehicle. But what you're going to notice is there's no fuse or breaker here in line close to the battery. That's because they've actually got that wired on the back end here. So that was kind of what I went back to BougeRV about and said, hey, you know, the fuse is very important, but it needs to be up by the battery. That's a big safety concern, especially if, you know, a wire rubs against the frame, you get in an accident, something like that. You want that protection as close to the battery as you can get it. So they're actually going to be taking this fuse and they're going to be mounting this up closer to the front of the harness like it needs to be going forward. But for now, we're going to go ahead and make this harness work in our vehicle. We're going to be installing this particular unit on my wife's 2020 Chevy Tahoe. And then when I get the BougeRV unit, it actually comes with the Charger 1. I'll be putting that unit in my pickup. That way we've got options in both vehicles to be able to charge our power station. But for this particular install, what I'm going to do, I went ahead and picked up a little 60 amp circuit breaker. We're going to mount that thing under the hood and get that wired up to this harness here, and we'll just kind of run this thing through the vehicle. And then in the back of the Tahoe, we've got that back hatch there where underneath the floorboard, basically we've got a little compartment to store things. I think that's going to be a perfect spot to kind of store this little guy here. I think I can mount it to the lid, and that way I can just run the power station right above it. There should be enough ventilation down there still to keep this thing from overheating. That is something that I'll kind of check on from time to time just to make sure we're good there. But nonetheless, I want to go ahead and hop over to the vehicle. We'll see see if we can get this thing put in real quick, and then when that Blue Eddy shows up here in a couple days, we'll get that plugged in and actually get this thing operating. I'm really looking forward to seeing, because this is rated at 600 watts essentially, and I think that's gonna be really great for the unit that I've got coming. So under the hood here, on the passenger side of the vehicle is where our battery is at, and on these Tahoes, we've got a distribution panel right here that's kind of sitting on top of the battery. So my thought process here is to be able to go ahead and run the positive off this, one of these lugs right here. We'll tie in. I think what I'll end up doing is taking this breaker. I'm gonna stick it right here on the side here, just go a couple bolts in that to hold it in place. That way I can get my hand in here and still be able to access this thing. What's nice about this circuit breaker is if you don't want this power wire to be live all the time, it's a little easier to just come over here and shut that thing off when you don't want to use it. And then if you do want to go ahead and go make that live again, come in here and you can just flip that breaker back on and you've got power running again. Versus with a fuse, there's a few more steps involved. One or the other is absolutely mandatory though when it comes to this install. And as long as you got a good 60 amp breaker or fuse, you'll be in good shape. So we'll go ahead and get this mounted right here, and then I'll get that power wire ran down the passenger side of the vehicle until we get to the back of the hatch. There's something else that you might want to keep in mind as well on these installs, and this is one of those other rabbit holes that I went down. You do need to also consider that when you're putting this on there, you're talking about possibly loading the alternator up with another 50 amps of draw coming off the vehicle. Now, a lot of your vehicle's alternators do have a little bit of wiggle room or play built into them. It really kind of depends on the vehicle and how big the amperage is. So in this vehicle here, I think the alternator on this is like 150 amps if I remember right. So basically, I think 30 to 40 amps worth of draw should be pretty reasonable. Now, something you want to keep in mind though is the more that alternator is running all the time at full capacity, the more chance you run of having that alternator wear out a little more prematurely. Also keep this in mind as well. We've been putting car audio systems and big subs in vehicles for years, and I don't know how many installs I've actually done on those things for friends and buddies and places I've worked at over the years. And honestly, those big sound systems are a lot more taxing on the alternator than this system's gonna be, mainly because on those subwoofer hits, you're basically getting a spike of amperage all at once, versus something like this is a long, consistent draw, so it's gonna be much easier on the alternator than like those big subwoofer systems can be. You want to take that into account as well. So if you're putting this system in like a smaller vehicle, something that's got like a 90 or maybe even 110 amp alternator on it, you probably don't want to run this thing at full tilt and run that full 50 amps of draw on that thing. But that's the nice thing about this kit is you can dial this thing back, and even though it's capable of 600 watts, you could technically still run this at like 300 watts full time. It won't be as demanding on your alternator, and then you can still get the benefits out of this system, because essentially the alternative to charging this thing going down the road is plugging into like one of your outlets if your vehicle's equipped with that, or like your cigarette lighter adapter. In most cases, you might be able to get like 100 watts out of that. So even at 300 watts, you could still get like maybe 2, 3, 4x the charging time out of this system here versus whatever the vehicle has from the factory. Now on the flip side of this as well, my truck is actually equipped with a snowplow prep package. It's a 2026 Chevy Silverado with the diesel, and it comes with the 220 amp alternator. So that thing's already been beefed up from the factory. So putting something like this in that vehicle, and when I actually go to do that, I'm not the least bit concerned about that extra power draw on that vehicle, just because I know that alternator can more than handle the power I'm going to be putting to it when I'm charging this power station going down the road. So with that being said, let me go ahead and dive in. I'm gonna get this part here set up real quick. I'll save you guys the headache of watching me do that part. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Then we'll get this power wire ran to the back and get this thing installed so you guys can see actually how this thing operates. Okay, so we're sometime later now. I jumped ahead quite a bit here. So I'm gonna go ahead and backtrack and show you what all I did on this install, because it frankly didn't go as planned. So what I ended up doing, I still put my circuit breaker right here on the edge, on the sidewall here, and I ran off of this one terminal lug right here off of where the battery distribution block here is. Biggest thing I had a problem with, the power wire harness that they supply with the kit is a little on the short side for what I needed it to do. Not the end of the world. I would like to see that have maybe about 2, 3, 4 feet longer, in my opinion. I could have probably go ahead and just picked up something different. I didn't want to wait. And with the storm coming in, I wanted to kind of get this done and get this thing back on the road just in case we need it here in the next couple days. I've got everything buttoned up here in the front. Basically what we did was we took the fender well liners out on the passenger side of the vehicle. I ran down behind the fender well and kind of just zip tied everything up. Basically, I followed the AC lines that go to the rear of the vehicle. So let's go ahead and swing back to the back of the vehicle. All I've got left now is to hook up the power in the ground back at the actual charger. So basically, the ultimate reason, like I said, I've decided to go this route, and I ran the frame rail instead of running interior of the vehicle like I wanted to do originally as planned, was basically the length of the cable. So I did find there's a grommet back here in the floor that another harness comes up through to tie into the electronics back here. So basically I just kind of poked up through that and everything's out of the way of moving parts underneath the vehicle. So what I need to do now is hook up the power and ground to this unit here. I kind of just punched right through here on the sidewall where these cables come out of. I had basically just enough length. I think I cut like maybe 2 or 3 inches off these cables altogether. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'll get this mounted, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put that like right here. That way I've got access to the power button right here. And when I'm ready to use this, I'll just run this outside like that, shut this lid. There'll be plenty of room for this to run in that groove there. So let's go ahead and get this tied in. Basically all we're gonna have to do here is take this little rubber boot here free. That's the 2 set screws there. They do supply us a little Allen key, so we'll just go ahead and use theirs since that's what's with it, and I'll get these loosened up. Now what I did do as well, because I kind of modified this harness, and I actually didn't run the ground from front to back, I shortened that up quite a bit. Right behind this little panel right here is a bolt for the seat. I just went ahead and tied in there for ground. So I got these all loosened up. I'll go ahead and tie these positive and negative. I did go ahead and put these new ferrule ends on here. If you don't have a kit for this and you wanted to go that route, I'll put a link in the description to the kit that I use. But if you don't have that and you don't want to spend the money on it, you can't just throw the wire in there, just bare strand and tighten that down on the set screw, and that works just as well. So we'll go ahead and hook up our positive real quick, and I've got the breaker up front tripped still, so I don't have any power to the back of the vehicle just yet. So I'll get this all tied down how I want it. I'll go ahead and flip that breaker and get the power on. We'll see if this unit powers on real quick before we actually mount it up here on the lid. So we'll tie down this negative real quick, get that secured in place. All right, so both of those are tight. We'll put our little rubber boot back here. So now that's all secure and good to go. I'll run up front real quick and I'll flip that breaker, and then I should have, I'm assuming, some kind of lights here pop on. So our breaker's flipped. I just heard the fan kick on. We've got something going on here. So I'll go ahead and hit this power button real quick. And we do have a green light on this unit here. So I think that's a good place to stop. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this up on the lid so it's ready to go for tomorrow. So we'll get this thing plugged in here and see how this thing actually operates. I can show you guys the actual watts that are being input into that unit to charge it up. Okay, so a couple days later here, my Bluetti power station finally showed up. I got this thing unboxed, got myself familiarized with it now. So I think I can go ahead and run this thing through the charger now, and we can take a look at this together, and then you guys can make that final decision as to whether this little DC charger is the right fit for you guys or not. So essentially, there's a couple things you're gonna need to know here, depending on your power station and how many watts it's capable of being input when you're doing the charging. Now this unit here, I'm able to run this thing pretty much at the max capacity. So the 600 watts that's gonna be coming out of this DC charger from BougeRV should be able to just go straight to the unit, and we should have no problems charging this thing while the vehicle's running. Now this little unit here off to the side is a much smaller unit. It'll still charge off of this DC charger. However, we would have to knock the voltage and the wattage down that we're gonna supply to that unit. And after playing with this a little bit, I kind of already know what those numbers are gonna be. So that's something that we can run through together real quick, and I'll show you guys exactly what this thing's capable of doing. I've got the power button here already turned on, which means that I can see the app here. So what's kind of cool about this app is because I've got a couple other items from BougeRV. I've actually got one of their electric heated blankets, and I've got a freezer that I will run during the summer months quite a bit, and those all link in here as well. So what makes that kind of cool is the fact that if we're running down the road and I've got this charger set up and I'm charging my power station going down the road, even though both of those units are going to be back here, I can control the settings from the driver's seat while I'm driving down the road through this app, which is pretty neat in my opinion. But let me go ahead and log into the DC charger here, and we'll bring that up on screen. You guys can see what that looks like. So the app here that they've got set up for this charger is actually pretty cool. It shows you the battery going up to the DC charger, but not to the power station right now. Now that's obviously because we're not charging the power station yet, but let's go ahead and run through the rest of these parameters here real quick. You'll see the alternator voltage is set at 12.5. That's actually what it's reading from the battery in the vehicle right now with the vehicle turned off. That will go up as you turn the vehicle on, you get going down the road as well. That could be pretty important, especially during the summer months if you're wanting to monitor the temperature on this. Now keep in mind, this unit does have the thermal protection, so if it reaches a certain temperature, it'll shut itself off to protect itself. When it cools back off to an appropriate temperature, it'll pick up where it left off and continue charging. And then your output voltages, that's going to be the important part there that we're going to want to look at and monitor. So you can see it has the voltage as well as the wattage that it's going to be able to see, and we can adjust that voltage that we're outputting to the power station depending on which power station we're trying to charge. So this particular unit, this Elite 200, it could take the full charge, so we could throw the full 600 watts at it going down the road. However, my little unit here off to the side, I couldn't really get it to reliably charge above 28 volts, and that's mainly just because that unit's not capable of taking as many watts in when it's charging, and if you try to go above that, it will give you an E3 code letting you know. And I had to basically step that down to find that sweet spot on that unit there. And then below that, you're going to see charging open and charging voltage. So right now, the charging voltage, I've got that set to 60 volts. It does give you that safety disclaimer. So we could change that, knock that down to that 28 volts if we wanted to run this smaller unit over here, or keep it at the 60 volts here and run that straight through the BougeRV here because it can handle that. And then the charging open, as soon as I hit that there, now keep in mind if we go into our settings, like I mentioned earlier, the working minimum input voltage is important to know as well. So essentially we want this unit to quit charging when we shut the vehicle off, right? When we're running down the road at 14.4, but then we shut the vehicle off and it goes down to like 11.8, 12.5, whatever the number might be. As long as you've got your minimum input voltage range set appropriately, you'll notice that step down in the voltage and it'll quit charging the unit the minute you shut the vehicle off. So you don't have to go in the app and actually do that manually. So that being said, let me go ahead and start the vehicle. We'll get this thing actually charging the power station. And we go ahead and take a look and see how many watts this thing can actually supply to the BougeRV Elite 200 when it's set to the max voltage of 60 volts. Okay, so with the vehicle running, now you can see where the voltage in the app has stepped up to 15 volts coming off the alternator here. Still showing that temperature. Let's go ahead, I've got this set to 60 volts. Let's go ahead and turn the charger on and get some power going to the BougeRV here. So you can hear that fan ramp up back here. And that's something else too that I thought might be worth talking about. While you can hear that fan run right now, possibly just because I'm sitting right next to it, but I've got this thing back in the compartment here with the lid shut down, driving down the road with the road noise, you're really not gonna hear this thing running. You should be able to talk over it pretty easily. And the decibel level on this thing's really only between like 70, 75 decibels. So it's not really an overly loud fan, which is something I can appreciate. Now, as you can see here, we got this thing running though, and the vehicle voltage stepped down from that 15 down to 14.3. Still producing output voltage coming off the alternator. And we're seeing 57.4 volts coming off the charger itself here with a 573 is what the app is showing me for the watts. Now, if you look over here on the screen of the BougeRV, there is a bit of a discrepancy. So I'm seeing between like 563 and 580 on the app coming from BougeRV. However, looking at the BougeRV, it's seeing around 560 to 580. So the numbers don't exactly line up 100%, but they're very close, within 10%. And then like I mentioned, if you needed to step down to charge this other power station up, you knock the voltage down to whatever you need to be at. In my case, like I said, was 28 volts. And I could see somewhere around 210 watts or so to this unit here. So is this little DC charger for everybody? Probably not. But if you're someone that uses this quite a bit and you're doing a lot of off-grid stuff, or in my case, where I'll be taking these charging stations with me, if I'm trying to charge freezers at farmers markets, things like that. If you have a crummy weather day where you can't plug in your solar panel to get a charge from it that way, or you don't have access to power somewhere where you can just plug this thing in, this is a great option to run down the road and be able to go ahead and get that power station topped off the next trip or the next event, wherever it is you need to use this power station at next. And then you can also get that done a lot quicker than if you're going to plug this into like your 12 volt adapter or the outlet that's in the vehicle, because a lot of those, like I think I mentioned earlier in the video, you might see 100 watts max at a lot of those outlets that come factory in the vehicle. If you're lucky, you might have a 200 or 300 watt plug-in that you can use going down the road, but this unit here is still going to be twice as quick, if not up to 6 times faster, depending on what source you're comparing it to. So guys, I hope this was somewhat helpful for you in making a decision as to whether this little DC alternator charger is the right fit for you guys. I think BougeRV's got a pretty nice product here, in my opinion. This thing's really going to get a lot of use for us in the summer months, especially when we're running back and forth to farmers markets and some of our events. Appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this one. We'll catch you guys on the next video.